MS4MS is a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising funds to advance research in order to find a cure for multiple sclerosis. MS4MS raises awareness and brings joy to the patients through sporting events and gives them hope for a brighter future. Stay with us as we learn their story. I'm Kristy Breslin, and this is Harford MagaScene. Sam Greenberg is the founder and the CEO of MS4MS. It is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping those who are battling multiple sclerosis. Now, Sam is here to tell us more about his organization and basically more about the disease itself. Hi, Sam.
Hi, thanks for having me, Christy.
Thanks for being here. Now, Sam, can you tell us exactly what is MS? A lot of us aren't familiar with what the disease really entails.
Yeah, so multiple sclerosis, most people refer to it as MS. It's an autoimmune disease that attacks the central nervous system. It affects people in various ways. So what happens is their nerve endings, the myelin sheath, their body is attacking itself. So the myelin sheath is actually deteriorating and then making them vulnerable to different kinds of symptoms. So people with MS typically have scars in either their brain or their spinal cord. And depending on where the scar is, it'll affect them differently. So it might be vision problems, it might be balance, it might be, just about anything.
How many people are affected in the country?
So just about 1 million. A recent study by the National MS Society indicates that just about 1 million people in the U.S. have MS, and over 2.5 million people worldwide. And that number was released before the U.S. number had increased so significantly. And that's just the people who are diagnosed. There's a lot of people who are misdiagnosed or have a lot of symptoms, but it's being mimicked as something else.
What would you say is the average age of someone diagnosed with MS?
Primarily people between 20 and 40 are usually diagnosed the most with MS, and primarily it affects women, but at like a 65% rate. However, there is pediatric MS. People who are, kids who are 7, 8 years old can get MS, and adults in their 50s and 60s can be diagnosed with it for the first time. So it is in that middle age range, 20 to 40, but there's no limitation as to who it can affect and at what point in life.
What inspired you to start this organization?
So my grandmother had MS. She sadly had actually passed away before I was even born, so I never met her. But through stories that my mom had shared and understanding her battle, as I continued to grow up and learn about what I wanted to invest my time in, I chose that cause to be closely connected. And as we'll talk about, the sports side of thing is also what drives me from a passion standpoint. So I used my family connections there with my love of sports to start the organization.
What exactly is MS4MS? Give us an overview.
MS4MS, it's actually short for Mission Stadiums for Multiple Sclerosis. So it's a sports-oriented nonprofit organization that uses sports as a platform to help spread awareness for MS while also helping those who are affected create a platform to enjoy life with each other. And we use sports to have an outreach and a source of spreading that awareness for them. We raise funds through our different events at the amateur level all the way to professional level. So there's a lot of different outlets that our ambassadors use to raise awareness, and it can be something as hosting a event at your local gym to going to a major league sporting event. There's no limitation to what you can do, and we just use sports as a platform to help us get our message out and raise funds for the important cause.
Now, I know that you have a lot of events throughout the year. Tell us about some of those.
Our events this summer, a couple of our highlighted events. One was actually in Washington, D.C. So we worked in conjunction with the Spartan organization, and we actually had 35 people run in one of their Spartan races, including our ambassador, Tina, who has MS, and it's a 2.5-mile race with 20 obstacles. So it's really challenging, and it's a team event. We all finished it together. But leading up to it, we actually raised $8,000 for the organization. And then during the event, it was a celebration and it was an awareness event. So we all wore orange with custom orange shirts running through Washington National Stadium. So we were there in front of thousands of people, and we were a group of 35 people wearing orange, so we stuck out like a sore thumb for the right reasons.
Sam, you are doing great things in the community, and I hear there's a rather large donation coming forward for Johns Hopkins University?
Yeah, so this Friday we're really proud to announce that we're going to be donating $20,000 directly to their Project Restore MS Research Center. So Dr. Mowry and Dr. Calabrese lead the charge with the Project Restore Center. We've been partnering with them for a few years now since I personally moved down to the Maryland area. We were working with Yale and have connected with Hopkins now. And use them as our primary beneficiary for the organization.
Now, Sam, how can we find out more information about MS4MS and how to make a donation?
Yeah, definitely. So ms4ms.org. It's ms, the number 4, ms.org. That's the website. We have all our events there. We're very active on social media, so you can find us at ms4ms on just about all of our social media outlets. It might be ms_4_4ms. And just follow along. And, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always available. We have a really great team in place to help promote these events and continue to what we like to call spreading orange. That's our slogan with the organization. So it means awareness, it means fun, it means support, and it's just a way for us to say we're spreading orange and we're making a statement with the color and we're supporting those who have it and hoping to come together and find one step closer to finding that cure.
Sam, thank you again so much. And one thing I did want to ask you is you did say there was a certain criteria that has to be met for being diagnosed for multiple sclerosis?
Yeah, so multiple sclerosis, it's actually, I think it's Latin for multiple scars. So once a doctor identifies that you have more than one scar, either on your brain or spinal cord through an MRI, that's typically when they're able to actually diagnose somebody with MS.
Okay, well, Sam, thank you so much. Thank you for your dedication. And coming up next, it's All in the Family. We'll explain. Wendy Greenberg is the special events volunteer, and she is also the very proud mother of the CEO, Sam. Wendy, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you, Christy. Thanks for having me.
Wendy, tell me about Sam and his dedication to making this organization the huge success that it's become today.
I'm really proud of Sam. He took an idea and then he turned it into an organization. And that organization has helped so many people. It's brought so many people together. It's created a community. And really what's important to me, how it gets to me emotionally, is that he did this with my mother in mind. He didn't even know her. And he did this in her memory. And that's quite special.
Wendy, you said your mother struggled with MS. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
My mother struggled with MS for many, many years, and it was undiagnosed. Back then, she died in 1986. She actually died of cancer. She had MS for so many years and had so many different symptoms, but they didn't have the tools and the research, and they didn't even have medication to help with the symptoms.
What do you think your mom would think of what Sam has done to help all these people battling MS?
There is no doubt in my mind that my mom would be extremely proud of what he is doing and the lives that he's changing. He's brought people together that were out there feeling so alone, and now they have a community, and that's pretty special.
Wendy, what is your role within MS4MS?
I'm his biggest supporter. I can be there and do anything that he needs done. I help with his events. I travel with him. I help with photography, and I capture the moments so that people can relive each event that we have.
I know you've done so many events with them and you've given so much of your time. Is there any special event or any special moment that really stands out in your mind that you'd like to share?
The event that we did in Detroit this past summer, two actually, Detroit and the Yankee Stadium. But the Detroit one was very, very special because I felt a very personal connection to the people that we met. We really made a difference. Sam really made a difference in their lives. And meeting new people and seeing how it's impacted them and bringing them together it's just really heartwarming.
How does being involved with MS4MS help those battling the disease?
Well, it's creating teams of people to raise money to actually make a difference. And donating this money to the research in hope for a cure.
Wendy, thank you so much, and congratulations on this amazing organization that's doing so much good for so many people.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Well, coming up next, we're going to talk to one of the coaches and major supporters of MS4MS. Tina Marchesi is an MS warrior, and she is the lead ambassador for MS4MS. She is here today to tell us about her story and how she continues to crush those lemons. Hi, Tina.
Hi, Christy. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Tina, tell me what it's like to be a warrior lead ambassador. What does that title mean?
I gained this title by coming on to MS4MS as soon as after I was diagnosed. This means the world to me to show everybody that MS does not run your life.
Let's talk about when you were first diagnosed.
I was diagnosed in October of 2016. I started out with a headache, and it slowly went into a blurred vision kind of thing. And I decided I'm going to skip my doctor. I'm going to go right to Wilmer Eye Clinic and have an eye test. He did a couple tests, and he did a red cap test. The red cap I didn't see. So the right side of my eye, I couldn't visualize anything. They sent me down to the emergency room down at Johns Hopkins. They gave me a cocktail of migraine medication, and the nurse kept saying, "You should be asleep by now." And I'm like, "Nope, this isn't working." They took me up for an MRI, and they found 3 lesions on my brain and 1 on my neck. That night, they came down to the emergency room and told me I was being admitted, and they were waiting for a bed to open up on the neuro floor. So I begged and pleaded, "Don't let me stay here." And they took me up there, and that was the first time I had heard relapsing, remitting multiple sclerosis.
What was your first reaction?
I wasn't sure what to think at first because I don't know what that is. That's not in my age range. I'm too young to have multiple sclerosis. And I felt scared, alone, and didn't understand what was happening to me.
What was the reaction from your husband and your son?
My son was so young. He was 3 at the time when I was diagnosed, so he had absolutely no idea what was going on. My husband took on a strong role to keep me standing, and he just kept listening to the doctors. He would look online to see what was going on, making sure I was getting the proper treatment, making sure this was really happening to me, and he's been my rock the entire time.
What were some of the signs of MS for you, and what are the typical signs for others?
Optical neuritis is my original symptom for the diagnosis. And most MS warriors have optical neuritis. Some do not, and they just have different symptoms, so no one's ever the same. So I don't know if I'm alone and the only one having optical neuritis, but it's called the snowflake disease for that purpose, because no one has the same exact symptom. They're all over the place.
Wow.
It could take years for diagnosis.
What were the first steps you took after learning that you had MS?
So I had met with my neuro team, which my neuro team at Johns Hopkins have been everything. They're strong. They do not allow my MS to take over. They treat hard and are rough with everything they do with my treatment. So the first thing they said to me was, no stress and keep working out. And from there, they started me on a treatment, and that treatment didn't work, so they put me on a new treatment. And that treatment, I am on infusion number 36. So It's going well. I'm stable.
Tina, I follow you on social media all the time. You know that. You're so positive. You always have these wonderful quotes, like crushing lemons, and your spirit is just unbreakable.
On the 3rd night of my admission at Hopkins, I had a conversation with my nurse. Typically, a nurse doesn't get very personalized with a patient, but for some reason she did with me. And she said to me, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Well, later on that night, I had a bunch of tests done, and the whole time I'm thinking like, well, these are my lemons, and I'm going to crush them. So #crushing lemons came on.
How did you first meet Sam, and how did that relationship develop?
I met Sam of February of 2017 through his sister. Her and I worked at the same fitness facility. And ever since then, he's been a big part of my fight.
How has being part of MS4MS helped you personally?
In the beginning, my thing was being alone in this diagnosis and this fight for the disease, and I wasn't going to allow anybody else to feel like I did. So this is my platform and my voice to show everybody this is not the end. MS, you have MS, MS does not have you.
Obviously, this is a really difficult disease to understand, let alone have. What advice would you give to someone who has just learned they've been diagnosed with it?
I would tell them when they are ready to reach out to one of us. You're not alone, and this fight is not over. You will conquer it. The more positive you are, the more fight you get out of it.
Tina, thank you so much. Truly, you are an inspiration, and your positive energy just really radiates.
Thank you, Christy.
Well, coming up next, we're going to talk to another supporter and very dedicated volunteer. Stephanie Hagee is a friend, supporter, and a fellow athlete, and she's here to tell us more about what they call their fitness family. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Christy.
Stephanie, how long have you been a supporter of MS4MS?
It's probably been about 2 years that I became aware of them, and through my fitness family friend, Tina, who was diagnosed with MS in 2016.
Knowing Tina and spending time with Tina, is she the reason why you decided to dedicate so much of your time?
Yes, definitely. I was aware of MS all of my life. Our next door neighbor's mother had MS, and I grew up in Colorado, which is an area of the country for some reason that is highly affected by MS. And so I have several friends who have been diagnosed with MS and have been fighting the battle for many years. So when Tina was diagnosed and we're close, it really hit home, and so we fight together.
Now, Stephanie, from what I understand, this is a very tight-knit group, so tight that you guys even have a schedule so that you can take each other to doctor's appointments.
We do. We are more than just a team. We definitely refer to ourselves as a fitness family. And when Tina was diagnosed, and we became aware that she needed to go to infusion appointments, and she's not allowed to drive. And they're Fridays, and people work, and her husband works. It's hard to put that all together. So our coach, Marissa, kind of made us aware of it, and we all kind of built a schedule, and we rotated, and we would take her to her infusion appointments. And it was a great opportunity to spend time with her, but also to really understand what she's going through in order to fight this battle.
What have you learned about MS through this experience?
So much, and as they've said, they've talked about MS being unique for everybody. So being close to Tina, I've seen how it's affected her personally. So we work out right next to each other. She's on my left every time. So I can see how it affects her physically, and sometimes even just the challenges she has to overcome mentally in order to stay on top and to keep moving and to not get frustrated. And she is amazing. She really is.
How do you think the organization has really helped Tina and so many other people?
I think it's helped so many of us. Really teaches you to overcome battles, and through MS4MS, we've met so many different people. We see how everyone is coming together. You really see how a community comes together through an organization like MS4MS.
Tell me more about what you refer to as your fitness family.
Well, we technically meet twice a week for our particular boot camp. But we get together a lot. We do social events together. A lot of people have done the Spartan races, lots of different activities that we do. So we get together for birthdays, dinners, different events. We're a family. We get together all the time, and we talk. We have a thread on Facebook where it's just our team, and we're constantly on there. So we're in touch a lot.
Stephanie, thank you so much. great to have you here, and it really is so heartwarming to hear about how you have all come together to support each other with MS.
Thanks, Christy. Thank you for giving a voice to this.
Oh, absolutely. And coming up next, another voice you'll want to hear about what it's like to be an MS warrior. Alison Menino is an MS warrior, and she is also an ambassador. She's here to tell us about her experience and personally what it was like first being diagnosed with MS and how she deals with it on a daily basis. Hi, Alison.
Hi.
What does it mean to be an MS warrior?
I think it means I do everything that I possibly can to make sure that MS doesn't take over my life.
Alison, what is it like living with MS on a daily basis?
It is ever-changing. Every day is a different adventure. The days that I don't feel well could be several different reasons, and then the next day I could feel terrific. So it's always changing, and I always have to be ready to figure out what to do next.
When did you first learn that you had MS?
So I was diagnosed about 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
February of 2000. I was a senior in college, and it was overwhelming. It took about almost 9 months to get diagnosed. I couldn't walk for 3 months during that time, and I had every person in my family behind me making sure that, I got the right diagnosis and the right help that I needed.
What type of immediate help or services did you acquire after your diagnosis?
So I will never, ever forget walking into the doctor's office with my parents, and they told me that I had MS, and my first reaction was, oh my God, there's a walk for that. That can't be good. And so my mother, it's very hard for your parents. They're your parents and they don't want anything to happen to you. So I think the first thing I did was I had to live in reality and say, okay, I have this disease now. What should I do? And how can I help myself? And so I kind of let my parents take their time with it while I just got directly on medication and kept fighting to walk every day and to keep moving.
How did your life change that day that you learned that you had MS?
I decided that life was short and I wanted to make the most of every minute. I went home and I decided that I needed to move, and I graduated college maybe 3 months later, and I moved away, and I have been away from there for 20 years. I was on my own. I had no family. I knew no one where I moved to. And I just started out as Alison with MS, and I've grown here, and I've created a life, and I'm happy and, knock on wood, healthy.
That brings us to MS4MS. How did you first become involved with them?
So I've been involved for a little bit over a year. I found MS4MS because I was tired of talking to people, whether on the internet or face-to-face in support groups, that just were complaining and not really trying to fight the fight. I wanted to be around people and to be with people that, wanted to keep moving and keep trying and keep active. And as soon as I talked to Sam, I said, this is something that I definitely want to be involved in.
Knowing what MS4MS is all about and your experience with them, would you recommend them to others?
Anyone with MS, anyone that wants to help people with MS, I would recommend MS4MS. It's a great community and a terrific team.
Alison, thank you so much, and just continue fighting the good fight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, coming up next, we're going to hear from one of the GRIT fitness instructors about all the benefits of taking those classes for the MS patients. Stay with us. Marissa Kleinschmidt is a fitness instructor for GRIT, and she is working closely with some of the MS patients to ensure that they have a better lifestyle. Marissa, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Marissa, how did you first become involved with MS4MS?
Well, Tina and I have been friends for years. She and I were actually colleagues at the same gym. So we both taught together. We became friends. We started working together on the same team. She was one of my participants in a GRIT class, and then she was diagnosed. So it was kind of our friendship that brought it forward, but the journey has continued, and I've gotten involved with MS4MS because of our relationship.
You're a GRIT fitness instructor. What exactly does that mean?
Well, GRIT is a Les Mills program based on high-intensity principles. So they break it down into strength, plyometrics, and cardio. So it's a specific program that is taught in the group fitness world, and Tina belongs to that.
And how do you assist clients that have been diagnosed with MS?
The program itself wouldn't necessarily help patients with MS, but what we're finding is that keeping fit, having regular activities, working on things like balance, as well as your cardiovascular endurance and other things, just keep some of the symptoms for MS at bay and allows you better quality of life. For example, one of the things that we've noticed is some of the training that Tina has done has helped with some of the balance issues.
Okay.
So it allows her the ability to function better, just in everyday life.
If someone with MS is interested in a new fitness plan or regimen, what would you recommend?
Well, the first thing is you want to make sure that you have your medical staff aware of what you're doing. I've met with some of Tina's doctors. I've spoken to her neurologist and things like that, kind of what she's doing and what type of exercises and how they will assist her, and keeping that in mind in the programming. And that's something that each MS patient would have to do with their individualized medical care, and then bring somebody who's got the knowledge of the fitness in there to help develop exercises and things like that will keep those common goals in mind.
As a fitness instructor, what advice would you give to those battling MS and those people that are taking group classes?
First of all, communication. Communicate with your instructor, because there are things that can happen in the middle of class. And if the instructor is unaware that, for example, you might heat up easily, they'll have no idea what's going on. So open lines of communication is the first thing that's super important. The second thing is remembering that each day is individualized. So what you can do one day, you might not be able to do the next. And just kind of giving yourself grace in that fitness journey. And more importantly, don't worry about how you may feel, how you may react to having MS in the room. Just keep pushing through at your own pace.
What is it like to be a coach?
Oh, it's super fulfilling. You can't describe it. When you can see, people push back some challenges. When I can get a phone call, for example, Tina recently had some results on her balance, where things that we had directly worked on have had positive outcomes. I mean, you can't put a price on that. It's just amazing.
Thank you so much, Marissa. It sounds like this is really making such a difference in some of the lives of these patients.
It is, and thank you for bringing even more awareness to this disease.
Now, for more information on maybe how we can hook up with you and get class schedules from you, how would we do that?
I'm fully reachable through the MS4MS, and I do work locally at Empowered Fitness.
Okay. Making difference in the lives of MS patients every day.
As you have seen today, MS4MS is changing lives and giving those hope who are battling multiple sclerosis. If you or someone you know would like to learn more about them, or if you'd like to make a donation, you can always visit them at ms4ms.org. I'm Kristy Breslin. See you next month on Harford MagaScene.